The totally originally named Star Fox releases the 25th of June, 2026, $50 digitally and $60 physically. This game is a remake of Star Fox 64 on the Nintendo 64, which is widely known as the best Star Fox game. But Star Fox 2026 is not the only remake of Star Fox 64. In 2011, Star Fox 64 3D was released as a remake of Star Fox 64. Then in 2016, Star Fox Zero would release on the Wii U as a remake of Star Fox 64. Star Fox 2026 is the third remake of Star Fox 64. But Star Fox 64 is actually a remake of the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo. So Star Fox 2026 is a remake of a remake that already has two remakes. At this point in the Star Fox series, there's just as many games that are retellings of the first game as there are games that aren't. And if you don't count Star Fox Guard, which was bundled with Star Fox Zero and is a simple tower defense game, there are actually more versions of Star Fox 64 than original games. So why is this? Well, it's because every Star Fox sequel besides 64 had something intrinsically go wrong. Star Fox was going to receive a direct sequel on the Super Nintendo, but it was shelved, though completely finished, because the Nintendo 64 was about to release, and they already had a new game in the series planned for release, Star Fox 64. But that game would see an official release on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition mini console, which sold actually really well, meaning technically the release of Star Fox 2 is the best-selling Star Fox game, even better than Star Fox 64. That's kind of cheating. After Star Fox 64 would come out though, Nintendo had literally no clue what to do with the series. So when they saw a game with animals that took place in space being developed by their British friends at Rare Studios, who created the Donkey Kong Country games, Miyamoto himself told them to add the Star Fox characters into it. Over time, the Nintendo 64 game known as Dinosaur Planet would transform into a new subseries of action-adventure games for the Star Fox franchise, aptly named Star Fox Adventures, with Dinosaur Planet being the first game. But the game wouldn't be released until the GameCube, and by then, Rare Studios was being bought by Microsoft. This means Star Fox Adventures would forevermore stick out like a sore thumb, being the only Star Fox game that plays like a Zelda knockoff, and it also contains one character that Rare technically owned. The game would end up selling 1.82 million copies, making it the 13th best-selling GameCube game, selling better than both Sonic Adventure GameCube games, Pikmin, and not even 100,000 copies less than Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Nevertheless, this game is mostly seen as just a mediocre game, while its sequel is often viewed as much higher. Yes, sequel. Namco, the creators of Pac-Man, would create Star Fox Assault. It returned to the arcadey shooter gameplay of the previous games, but still forwarded the series from where Adventure left off. While it certainly had problems, many hold this game in high regard as a representation of the Star Fox series. It sold less than 1 million copies. It did continue the story established in Adventure, though, even featuring Tricky the Dinosaur, which Rare owns because of her first appearance in Rare's self-published Diddy Kong Racing, which aside from any Kongs or Kremlings, which were licensed to Rare so the game would get some sweet brand recognition, everything else in this game was owned by them, and now effectively Microsoft. So that's weird. Perhaps it was just the dying GameCube that sabotaged the game though. So Nintendo gave Star Fox one more try on the very successful Nintendo DS. It sold even worse. Overall, it reviewed fine, but Star Fox Command is mainly seen negatively in retrospect for its bad story, though I haven't actually played it and don't want to judge it prematurely. Overall, the consensus seems to be that it's a fine game, but the Star Fox genre didn't have the holding power it had just a couple years back. After releasing Assault and Command in back-to-back years, the series took a 6-year break, until a remake of Star Fox 64 would release on the 3DS, and it would be the first million seller since Adventure. And then, 2 years later, the Wii U's new Star Fox would be teased, but it would still need a few years until its release. And then it was just Star Fox Zero. What is Star Fox Zero? a reimagining of Star Fox 64, which was literally just remade on the 3DS only 4 to 5 years prior. Also, the controls are really hard to get the hang of, and the settings that you fly around through just looked kinda bland. This was also when that tower defense game would be released. It's not really a Star Fox game, even less so than Adventure. There was also an anime-like short that released alongside these games that most people do like. And while the Nintendo Switch would come along and revive many franchises, not Star Fox, though Team Star Fox would appear in Starlink, a Ubisoft Toys to Life game. Now ain't that the funnest fact? Then, as you probably know, 2026's Mario Galaxy movie had Fox McCloud featuring prominently. And you're all caught up. So, does a remake of the best game in the series make sense? Yes. Does this look better than Star Fox Zero? As a game, it looks better. Character design-wise, now that's debatable. I might have nightmares for a week, but I think over time I'll get used to the realistic designs. And remaking the best, most iconic game in the series makes a lot of sense. This is the best possible thing for newcomers of the Star Fox franchise. Of course, an upscaled version of the 3DS game would have been easier, so this is probably better taking advantage of the graphical capability of the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware. Of course, fans of the series want to play something new, or have a remake that fixes a bad game. But all in all, Star Fox 64 is what the franchise is, so as a new beginning, it makes sense. Before the Switch 2, I said I thought Nintendo should make the Star Fox Not 64 collection, partially because I thought it was funny, and partially because I find these three games the most interesting. Also, Star Fox Guard, and with them specifically highlighting Star Fox Adventure in the video, I think it could be coming to GameCube Nintendo Classics sometime in the not too distant future. Of course, at the time, I specifically did not think they would have a GameCube Classic service, because how easy it was to remaster all these games and sell them at full price. Overall though, for a revitalization of the series, considering everything, this makes the most sense. Of course, this all depends on if the average person even wants to play an arcade-style shooter in the year 2026. And if it bombs, Nintendo can just wait another 10 years to remake Star Fox 64. So I apologize to the people of Europe, because in Europe, Star Fox is called Starwing, and Star Fox 64 is Lilat Wars, because there's a German company named Starvox that has the trademark to the name. They actually do correct this in the UK Direct by not dubbing the audio at all, and writing it in subtitles. This is really weird, so yeah.